3 games in 8 days. It's happening again, but can Rising get themselves off the foot of the Western Conference table? Hello, it is Wednesday, and we're back here in the studio. We've got a lot of football to talk about, and Rees, we know your views on football, and they're not very positive here, so you know what? I almost want, even before we kick things off here on the PHNX Rising podcast this Wednesday, Rees, you know what? I put out, just before we went live, I did put out a quote from you that you said here about 2 or 3 minutes ago. The quote was, "This sport is miserable to watch." Now, Rees, we're setting the tone for this podcast, and we're getting the negativity out now. For the minute, at least. Rees, explain yourself.
Well, the last 2 matches I've watched, not really the last 2, but just for Arsenal and Rising, 1-0 games that were very, very boring, and in which the home side didn't create many chances, and that's not fun. I want to see goals, and we're not seeing goals.
You want to see goals?
I'm not seeing goals.
He's not seeing goals. Well, you know what? It could be worse.
It could be. You could be going down to League One.
Yeah,
with Wrexham leapfrogging.
We don't need to talk about that other team, do we? No, Rees.
Mighty Wrexham.
No, we don't need to talk about them, Rees. Yeah, it could be worse. You could be getting relegated to League One because you leave an incompetent person in charge for so long. But anyway, welcome into the PHNX Rising podcast. We've got a lot to talk about just on Phoenix Rising, of course. Last weekend, kicking off the Jägermeister Cup campaign with a 1-0 loss against San Antonio, and now a 3-game week coming up. It's going to be Colorado Springs on Saturday in USL Championship. There's a midweek Open Cup game against Houston Dynamo, and then another USL Championship match coming up against New Mexico United on the Saturday. It's going to be an interesting week, I think, ahead. But before we get into what's coming in the future, we do need to look back a little bit, and we need to look back at that 1-0 loss against San Antonio. You know what? Before we really dive into the details here, Rees, I'm going to let you just kick off with your overall thoughts.
Bad. That's really the only word to describe it. When you don't get a shot on target, you're never going to win a match unless you get some fluky own goal. But Rising just didn't do enough in this match to do anything, to find a goal. Defensively, it was 1 lapse by Carl Saint that led to the Juan Aguadelo goal, and they got punished by that. I know Pa-Modou Kah was speaking in the postgame about how they had the one chance where the offside flag was drawn and thrown a bit maybe early. I don't think he was offside. It was very close margins, but that was what he kept bringing that up. They didn't do enough outside of that one moment to create anything, to really find anything. I mean, 7 shots, 0 on target. It's just not a number you ever want to see again.
No, and while you're bringing up those numbers, let's take a look now at the numbers here presented by our friends at Desert Financial Credit Union, Arizona's #1 credit union, named by Forbes. Rising do have the advantage here in terms of expected goals, but that's almost all created in the first half. Only 1 shot for Phoenix Rising in the second half of this match. And altogether, when you add all of it up, you just mentioned it, Rising with not a single shot on target throughout the entire match. San Antonio get 1 and they put it away. And it was a good finish. Take nothing away from the finish. That's also one that Pa-Modou Kah has been talking about, as he thinks there should have been a flag go up on that goal in the build-up to it. So, I mean, all of those things obviously come into play to an extent. But yeah, it's one of those ones where I think if you just can't get a single shot on target, there's only so much pointing fingers at others you can do, whether it be on, you know, the fact the other goalmate should or shouldn't have counted, the fact that you could have had a chance that was kind of waved away by an offside flag, whether it was right or wrong. Yeah, there's only so far that you can really go with that if you're just not going to create very much yourselves.
Yeah, and it's another match where Rémi Cabral's impact on the game just is minimal at best. 10 touches throughout the whole game. He was subbed off later into the match. One shot, it was Rising's best chance of the day with worth 0.37 XG, but there was just nothing to him. And it really, outside of a couple passes against Detroit, the last 3 games, Rising have really struggled to get the ball to him again and again and again. And you're never going to get output from your striker if you're not giving him the input needed. And at the moment, it just seems to be this Achilles heel for this team, getting the ball to Rémi Cabral again and again.
So is that something, I mean, from the way you look at it, are you thinking of this as something that's the team's fault, right? They're not finding him, or is it more on him maybe not getting into the right places, not getting himself on the end of those balls? Where does that balance lie?
I think it is a mix of both, because I do think when we see Ihsan Sacko move to that number 9 position, he's a bit more proactive trying to get to balls. But I don't think there's been near enough service. I think when Sacco's the number 9, I don't think there's near enough service to him. But I do think Rémi needs to do a better job just finding the space. But it's a split about 50-50 between the two, I'd say.
Well, there were other things that went into that last game, right? Jamison Ping comes in as an attacking midfielder in there, and that sees Hope Aveyevu move out onto the left flank. Now, after the game, Pa-Modou Kah was kind of talking about how he played in there before, and he can create chances from those wide spaces. I think from what we'd been seeing in the course of that game, it felt as though Hope was very much a floating kind of player at times. Yeah, when there was a stoppage in play, he'd drift back out to the left, but you'd often see him at times kind of drift, honestly, even to the right of Rémi Cabral, who was leading the line. It was a very fluid left-wing position there, and I think it just, in a lot of ways, kind of felt a little bit confusing as to quite what exactly they were trying to do.
Yeah, and if you just, I mean, Hope Aveyevu was very good creating chances. He created the most for Rising, and that's what we expect him to do, but it wasn't from that left wing spot. And I mean, you look at the heat map, which we'll see now, is he's so far back. That's
I mean,
just
we're looking
alone.
There at the entire team, and you
there's
can see
nothing
there's
on the
nothing
left.
on the left-hand side. It makes them so lopsided.
Mm-hmm.
Everything there, right? If you're looking at this, if you're listening, I'm sorry, we'll try and describe it to you now. It's direction of play from left to right. So that right-hand side, that's the side that Rising are trying to attack. And there are that little blob you can see there right at the very top right-hand corner of there. That's obviously the left wing. That's 2 touches is what's caused that on the heat map. Everything else is coming in from the right. They're going out wide to the right. They're cutting inside, and that's how they're trying to create chances. There is nothing at all in terms of, coming in from that left-hand side. And it's one of those things where I think when Hope Aveyevu has been as pivotal as he's been this season in terms of finding ways to create chances, in terms of finding ways to set others up, and he's done it by and large by being able to float around a little bit more, by being not quite as rigidly stuck to a position as you almost need someone to be when you're playing them on the wing, so as to especially when, no offense to Braxton Montgomery, right? I think he's proven himself more than serviceable at this level, but he's a young, inexperienced player who, when Hope Aveyevu drifts off, you're kind of expecting, the entirety of that left touch line, that's yours now.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think he has necessarily the experience, and he's not at that point in his career whereby you can really, or should really, ask him to do that much.
I agree. And what we've seen from Montgomery is much more defensive, whether it's in midfield, center back, left back, compared to the other guys in that same position group. It's much more defensive. I think if Aveyevu had a Colin Smith, I know Colin Smith's much more of a right back, but if he had a guy who was much more committed to joining the attack on that left side, I think it would have worked out a lot better for Rising. But because it was so not defensive minded, but just inexperience in the attack with Montgomery, that's why it just kind of fell flat on its face there.
Right. It's just one of those ones where I think, again, I understand, right, they're trying to move people around a bit, right? Jearl Margaritha didn't start that game because he'd had some illness earlier on. He was working through that. I mean, it feels as though you could, Damien Rivera didn't start the prior game because he wasn't fully there. He had a bit of a knock. He wasn't, again, fully there. And a lot of these guys are seemingly not fully there in terms of fitness, in terms of health. All of those things kind of play into this. But I mean, that's going to be a really big challenge now for this coming week. When you have 3 games in 8 days yet again, you have a lot of travel, you have a lot of games at altitude, that's going to be a critical one here in terms of how you approach that Colorado Springs game, because again, you want to go out there, you really need to probably find some points in this game, probably find 3, but how are you going to balance the altitude, the fitness, and the fact that you've got a game a couple of days later. I do know, and I won't get into this too much now because we'll be previewing later on, but one thing that Pa-Modou Kah did say today is that there's probably going to have to be more rotation over this stretch than we saw the last time that Rising had a 3-game in 8-day stretch. So he seems ready to make some of those changes there. I mean, Goalman Pat, I'll take some of his comment there. I think, let's be honest, yes, there's been injuries, retirements, but a squad with the ambitions to challenge the league can't be having to rely on youth players as much as they have. Failure squad building. I don't inherently disagree. I also feel as though, again, the fact we're having that discussion over Avayevu, are they using him in the right spot? Are they using players as effectively as they could have? Are there players who've come in that I think were expected to start and have been disappointing? Yes. I think we've still all got question marks over that midfield. And is it really at a position whereby it's ready to go? And I understand people will say, well, okay, but you've got Dorothy Otto's out injured. You've got Charlie Dennis out injured. But the reality is that bringing guys like Avayevu, who's played well, but Noble Akello, Carl Sainz, people who maybe haven't made the mark in the midfield that you'd want them to, they were viewed as starting caliber players. So it's not as though it's just down to injuries. There have been players I think this team expected and wanted more from, and we have yet to fully see that materialize. And that also impacts the attack, right? Rémi Cabral leads the team in goal contributions at the moment, but you're still, in a game like the last game, if you've got Cabral and Sacko out there, you're expecting a bit more, and we just didn't really see it. And even when Jearl Margaritha comes on later in the game, it still doesn't really translate into anything that was really notable, to be honest.
Yeah, in San Antonio, they did a very good job defensively. I thought they did a good job in the first meeting between these two teams a few weeks back. Outside of just a couple moments of brilliance, or a one moment really of brilliance from Jearl Margaritha, they were really good defensively against Margaritha in that first game. Then San Antonio kind of rotated their back line from that game to this, and I still thought the same. Shannon Gomez, Mohamed Omar, Juan Osorio, on the kind of guys that didn't play in that first game. Mitch Tainer as well, that whole back line's different. They did a good job limiting what Sacko could do off that right wing. And Smith as well, he couldn't quite find the spaces that he likes to, couldn't quite find the touches. And that is an underlying part of why this attack didn't succeed, not just the Avayevu position.
Right. And even when you look later on, right, we can talk about 4 minutes after the goal is scored for San Antonio, Rising bring on Jearl Margaritha. They bring on Damian Rivera. That's the point when you start to say, okay, they're throwing players in who are going to be attack-minded players. They're throwing people on that are going to take the game to San Antonio, and they play 25 minutes and do nothing. There's no shots at that point for the remainder of the game. It's disappointing, isn't it, really? Ultimately, Rising finished that game with over half an hour without a shot. Frankly, if you add in the stoppage time, it's almost 40 minutes. It's about 39 minutes from Rising's last shot until the final whistle.
That lone shot was Sacco's free kick, right?
It was an off-target shot from Ihsan Sacko, in the 58th minute. So it was a long time there to not even get a shot off, and it's just not good enough, really, is it? And I mean, again, right, the entire game, Rising have 17 touches in San Antonio's penalty area, and to convert that into a grand total of 0 shots on target, I don't really know where to begin, to be honest.
I mean, no shots from open play in the second half. That just no. I just kind of am dumbfounded what we saw on Saturday, because we have seen this team look so good in the final third. I know it was rotated, but still, you'd think that it would still find a way to mesh to at least maybe half of the
Let's not
output.
pretend like San Antonio didn't rotate to an extent themselves. They played on Wednesday.
Yeah.
So they weren't exactly at full, fresh,
Mhm.
100% ready to go kind of level there. They'd had a pretty tough game up in Colorado Springs on the Wednesday.
It's just so puzzling to me, that whole game, to be honest. It feels like it's just a fever dream of a game, to be honest. Just how it went.
Oh, you could almost say it's a bit drunk for the Jägermeister Cup there. But one other thing that we'll take out of that game, obviously, rising captain Pape Mar Boye did go down injured in that match. We didn't get a lot of update after the game, but we did hear a little bit more on Pap and the injury and the impact on the team from Pa-Modou Kah today.
Nah, obviously, Pap is a big loss. We know his injury, but sometimes you don't wish injury upon a player, but for somebody like him who never had the injury, this is also another way for him to find a growth. In who he is as a leader, who he is as a footballer. So we're devastated to miss him, but on the other hand, it's also a chance for him also to also understand what he needs to do to continue to help and guide the team, not being on the field.
How serious is that? What kind of time frame are you guys?
Well, I will do it. That is one thing that you have to ask the medical. We just heard it. I think we're talking about 4 weeks, maybe. That's estimate. I don't know much.
So potentially 4 weeks there without Pape Mar Boye at the back. That's pretty rough, isn't it?
And it's a very difficult stretch. I mean, the 3 matches of this coming week of Switchbacks away, Houston in the Cup, New Mexico, and you got Monterey Bay. You got a week off, but then still Vegas could be in that time frame as well. It could be very, very difficult to manage that 4-week stretch without Pape Mar Boye. But I do think it is a good sign that it's only 4 weeks, because I think a lot of us
There was a lot of fear
thought,
that it could have been a lot longer.
just by his reaction, the way it looked, it felt like it could have been bad. And I think it's a good thing for Rising that it's only 4 weeks.
It is. Look, in other parts there too, the team is looking to bring in another defender, another person to help cover in centre back. Watch this space would be the words that I'd give on that one. I'd also say that Mo Traore, they've been working on his fitness during his absence, so I think the aim is going to be to integrate him into the squad as quickly as is possible. At this point, they've been sending training schedules over to keep him fit with a group that he was training with over in when he was back home. So I think that when you add all of those things up, there are going to be options there for Rising in the weeks going forward, but it's not a positive thing. I mean, your captain, I think Pap has, I think we can be honest and say I don't think he's been at the level that he was at last season. But equally, I don't think anyone on the team has fully lived up to that kind of a high of what they could have been. We know what he's capable of. We know what he's realistically going to be able to achieve when he hits his best. And we'll have to see on that one. I think this could be a very interesting few weeks without him, of course, because you're missing his leadership in there as well.
Yeah. And they're always going to say next man up, but that really is going to be a bit of a confusing time of who is that next man up. I know Mo Traore is working back, as you said. Is it going to be Carl Saint? Is Arneta going to be fully fit? Is the new guy going to be in time before that 4 weeks kind of reaches the tail end? It could be a very interesting match on Saturday with what that back line could look like.
It could be, right. Well, we're going to be looking ahead to Saturday and some other kind of longer term topics when we come back on the other side of the break. But before then, we've got a road trip coming up on, we got one this Saturday. We've got one a week after as well, going over to Albuquerque. And what's that? It's another drivable road trip. If you are driving over there to Albuquerque, make sure to go fill up at Circle K. And if you're going to do it, make sure you sign up for the Inner Circle Rewards program. You can save 25 cents per gallon on your first 5 fill-ups. And what a time to make the most of that when you're going off on a long road trip to go and support Rising. You also save 3 cents per gallon every day thereafter. It's really easy to join. You just enter your email and phone number on the app to be fully enrolled. And after that, all you need is your phone number to get the deals. It's really, really simple. You get all kinds of other member exclusive deals and discounts as well, and fill up on some snacks and, of course, some Polar Pops en route over to Albuquerque. Make sure to join the Inner Circle for free by downloading the Circle K app today. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations, and visit circlek.com for details. Now, I'm also going to give a shout out to our friends at Branded Bills. Max isn't here right now for us to bully him with the choices of hats. I see some U of A ones over there, but there is, I don't think you can quite see it, unfortunately, on the camera. We've got the ASU over there if you'd prefer to wrap a
to
real
have taste.
Yeah, to have taste. Absolutely. And they've got all kinds of fun stuff there. ASU, U of A, if you're into that. Other universities as well, and other deals as well. I believe they got something going on with the D-backs as well. So just keep your eyes out. Branded Bills, they're a local company from here in Mesa, and they will keep you looking good as the sun comes out, and maybe just get a little bit of protection there, so you get a little bit of shade on the face, so you're not burning quite as badly as I usually burn out in the sun. Plus, you can get 20% off your first order if you head over to brandedbills.com and use the code PHNX for 20% off of your first order. Right, Rees. So, we've spoken a bit about what they're losing in terms of Pape Mar Boye being out, but let's also talk, I think, about the fact that someone else has left the club.
Yeah, I totally forgot for a split second there. Yeah,
that was possibly the weirdest storyline to come out from the end of the game. We're like, okay, where's Casey Wills? He's not in the squad. He's not on the availability report. And then we get into the press conference afterwards. And it's like, so what's the timeline for Casey coming back? It's like, oh, Casey's retired.
Yeah. I think you could hear everyone in the press room just gasp at that. It
came out of nowhere, didn't it? Really, it felt. But yeah, Casey Wills has retired from football at the age of 22. We got a little bit of insight from Pa after the game, but we also got some more on Casey's retirement from him, and if it took him by surprise, today's press conference. Let's have a listen to what Pa-Modou Kah had to say.
I mean, he's been thinking about it a lot. It's like I say, sometimes you don't know what people go through, and for me, that's why I always open my door to players, and that's why I always say that it's important for me to know them as people before the player, because then you can spot things. And I spotted that with him, and I called him after practice, and I was like, you didn't seem your usual self, and then when he explained it to me, I could fully understand it, because sometimes it's not easy in our sports for people to speak. That's why we're doing all this mental health tests all around, ice bucket, all of this stuff. But I think the biggest challenge that we should do is #communication, because that's what it is about. Because to communicate to people, help them, guide them, listen, and for me that is part of my job. And when he came to the conclusion, I was happy for him because he felt relieved.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to begrudge the guy, right? It's not the most glamorous level of football. Let's be real, USL Championship. And all of these guys know they're going to have to move on at some point. And it's not like moving on for, guys who are higher up the league system who, maybe you're going to walk away and have something there in terms of, being able to walk away and not go and work a regular job like everybody else for the rest of your life. But a lot of these USL guys, they do. And I mean, also, again, if he's realized that he's over football, if he's not having the enjoyment on it, I mean, you can't begrudge the guy for moving on. And obviously, we wish him the best. It does leave Rising in a bit of a hole at the moment. And again, it's a reason why I think they're out and looking now for cover at centre-back, because realistically, they need it. Quite frankly, they already were at a point where they somewhat needed it. Let's not forget, Rising finished the last game with, we didn't bring this up really, Carl Saint and Colin Smith. Colin Smith playing centre-back for the first time in his career.
You played it against San Antonio.
Well, yeah, San Antonio the first time, sorry, yeah, it's the second time. Gosh, yeah. He only does it against San Antonio, apparently. But that first time against San Antonio, the first time he ever did it in his career, that's what he told us today. He'd never done it before. So, yeah, that's a bit of a bombshell, but
yeah, it's an interesting spot. I mean, I don't think Colin Smith looks too out of place at center back, but it is certainly by no means the best option there. It's a makeshift option, but he looks a bit comfortable there for what you have for the next little bit. It certainly works, but yeah, the club is working on bringing on someone, and it's definitely a necessity at this point. I mean, you said we kind of been talking, maybe they do need to bring in a guy just by how the room looks, and it's certainly a necessity now.
Yeah, no, it is. You know, I don't know. As you look ahead now, though, to looking ahead to these upcoming games in terms of just how they're going to get things going, even if they don't bring, if they don't bring someone in, I think you're going to be mishmashing up a load of players there in kind of makeshift roles. Again, you hope for some minutes from Mo Traore, but you don't know if you're going to get them. You don't know how many exactly you're going to be able to get. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, because you don't want a player's first match back to be 90 minutes at altitude, because that is not fun for anyone.
You absolutely do not. Now, you know what? Let's talk about Colorado Springs, right? It's going to be at elevation. It's going to be... what's the weather forecast? Do we have a weather forecast for Colorado Springs? It could be very nice up there.
I feel like I looked it up as somewhat nice.
It's actually going to be somewhat nice. Apparently, they're just beating out the rain. The rain kicks in on Sunday. But it's going to be about 70 degrees in the daytime. It's going to be quite nice up there, up in the mountains. But it's always a challenge. It's always a challenge to go away there. Again, just dealing with that altitude, which you're also going to see in Albuquerque as well later on down the week. But Colorado Springs haven't had the best start to this season either, have they, at this point?
No, watching a few of their matches, I kind of got deja vu to watching some Rising games, to be honest, because they have quite a few really good wingers. Yasuke Hanya, they've some of the other guys they've brought in as well. Herbert Henley, he's a former North Texas guy. They've got really good flashy wingers. They've got really aggressive fullbacks. Akeem Ward, very aggressive, joins the attack a lot. But they also get caught out defensively as a result. They don't really have a true number 6 in their lineup because Charlie Adams has been hurt the last few weeks. And it's just and they concede a lot and they score a lot. It's very similar to Rising. I think the only team that's conceded more than Switchbacks this year is Rising. So they're very, very similar teams. So because these teams both score a lot and concede a lot, it's going to be a boring 0-0 game. I can tell you that right now, knowing how this league works.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because I said at the start of the season, I did think that Switchbacks were taking a real step back.
Mm-hmm.
I think we were all kind of saying that, but did we really expect it to be this much of a step back for the defending champions?
No, well, they started last year slow too. I think they lost their first 4 or 5 games to open up 2024. But losing Ronaldo Damas, who's one of the best strikers in this league, now with Birmingham Legion, and losing Speedy Williams as well, one of the best midfielders this league's ever seen. He's won the league 3 times with 3 different clubs. He's now in Lexington. They didn't really adequately replace either of those two. They've got Justin Dillon up top. That's their main number 9. He's started the year really good, actually, compared to what he's shown over his career. 5 goals through the first 7 games. He was with El Paso last year, joined Switchbacks mid-year. Never really got going, only 5 goals in all of last season. They've got Juan Tejada, too, who's missed the last few games. Tejada, I feel like anytime he plays against Rising, he has a good game. So if he's available, he could make an impact. But it's not... neither of those two replace Ronaldo Damas by any stretch of the imagination.
Right, that's the thing. Ronaldo Damas is just such a... I don't want to say clinical finisher because I know that I got 1 or 2 people in the chat who'll come after me for that one because he does miss a lot of big chances. Yeah. But he's a consistent finisher whereby you can normally rely on him to find a goal every other game and he'll do it. He may miss 1 or 2 chances en route to getting there, but he still does have a pretty high output normally when he gets going. You look at who really Rising is going to have to deal with in terms of this game. I mean, just breaking down guys like Marco Micheletto, Justin Dillon, right? They're pretty decent players, and I don't know. I mean, the team as a whole, as you mentioned earlier, are somewhat of a mini Phoenix Rising. Again, they've scored 1 goal fewer than Rising have. They've conceded 2 goals fewer than Rising have. They're right up there at the top of both of those tables. just as Phoenix Rising is. And going to be interesting and hard, I think, to predict who comes out on top in this one.
Absolutely. And I think Switchbacks also losing Matt Real last weekend, last Wednesday against San Antonio, he got sent off, is going to be a big miss for Switchbacks. He's a very versatile option on that left side. He can play more as a left back, can play as kind of a left mid, kind of anywhere in that role. He got sent off. Last match he played as left mid. Zach Zandy got sent off the week before, so he's returning. Their midfield's kind of been a revolving door of guys because, as I said earlier, Charlie Adams got sent off. The Zach Zandy suspension didn't help either. And because of that, I really don't know what their midfield looks like at the moment. Micheletto, you said he's a great chance creator. Showed that in his season last year against New Mexico. They've got other guys in there as well. Steven Echeverria is a very good option there. Anthony Fontana has shown glimpses of something, but it just they're missing that something. It's really that kind of true defensive midfielder that they lost in Speedy Williams.
Right, and to go to Man Pat's comment here, when was the last time Rising won in Colorado Springs? The answer I can tell you is 2019. Don't look it up now, Rees. Don't look it up. Don't look it up. Don't look it up. Don't look it up. I want you to guess, Rees, who were the goal scorers? Rising won that game 3-0.
That was at the old Widener Field,
but it was the old one, right? Yeah. I know, it was an interesting little track out there because they didn't really have any press seating, so I was there on like when it's like fold out chairs.
Oh yeah.
And it wasn't tall enough to actually see out the window, so you just had to stand. But who scored the goals that day? Come on, 3 goals, 3 different goal scorers.
I remember watching this game, and the only reason I remember watching it is because I remember watching the kickoff, and they zoomed in on the ball, and Rising were kicking off to start the game, and the ball was like a mile off from the spot. So I'm gonna go with Sante.
What a thing to remember!
I remember
Sante with 1, yes. He had the second goal in the game.
Give me Adam John in there.
Adam John had the 3rd goal in the game. So who had the first? Who got it going?
This is a weird shout. Give me Calistri. I don't know.
It was a weird shout, but it isn't Joey Calistri. It was Jose Aguinaga.
Okay.
Yeah. That was Rising's last win in Colorado Springs, right? So that coming back in 2019. They also won up there in 2018. That time it was Joey Farrell and Kevin Lambert scoring in a 2-1 win for Phoenix. As we look back, have they won any other games up there? They did. They actually won the year before that as well in 2017. Now that one, I don't know if you'd get the goal scorers. You may get one. Amadou Dia.
Really?
The other goal scorer there, AJ Gray.
Okay. I did not remember that name.
See, he doesn't really know.
I was also 11, so
I know. Rising losing. I don't believe they've won any other games in Colorado Springs. They've actually had some pretty heavy losses up there in recent years. Post-pandemic, haven't managed to get the better of Colorado Springs in any of their games.
Haven't scored.
No. It's been a pretty miserable go at it. You're right. In 2022, Phoenix Rising go up there. This is after parting ways with Rick Shantz that season. They bring in Juan Guerra to manage them at that time, and Darnell King with a second yellow card in stoppage time in the first half, which allows for Colorado Springs to ultimately go on and win that game 1-0. They ended the season there in 2023 in a very cold fixture.
That one was miserable to watch.
It was miserable to be at. It was so cold. I think, when you're holding the microphone and the metal's just so cold.
Yeah.
It was an October night. It was freezing. And Rising lose that one 2-0. And of course, failing to win last season there with a 2-0 loss.
That was Tomas Angel's debut last year.
Wow, that was Tomas Angel's debut, and he didn't play particularly well.
No, he didn't. No one did. I remember that game. That was
a pretty miserable
too
game at that point under interim head coach Diego Gomez at the time. So, not been a lot of fun for Rising up in Colorado Springs ever since they've moved to the new stadium. Rising yet to score a goal at the new Widener Field. Does that change this game?
I don't know.
What has to go right for Rising to get that?
I think Rising need to, well, what switchbacks do really well on the attack is they press really well. Rising are going to need to not be forced into clumsy mistakes, and then just build forward from that. I think if they can get out of the back and go forward, they'll beat switchbacks as midfield, and then from there, I think Rising can do a lot of damage. And score a couple
Are
of
you
goals.
backing Rising's midfield in this game?
No, but I'm not backing either midfield. I don't really particularly like either of these two midfields defensively, but I think that if Rising can beat Switchbacks' press, I think they can really do themselves a lot of favors in this game.
Well, you know what? Let's have a listen to what Pa-Modou Kah said today in terms of what this team needs to do to kind of take that step forward.
Same intensity as we played with the first half. I think there was a lot of good stuff, but obviously you want shots on goal. I think we were there, but we did not get our shots off. But there was a lot of positive things to see from the pressing side, from controlling the game, because they also didn't have a lot of moment into the game. But the one moment they had, they took it, and that's where they are and why we are not where we need to be yet, where we're going to get to. But again, Owen's favorite word, the trust the process, so that's where we at, and again, we have a very young group. It's not an excuse, but also take into consideration who they are, what we're trying to get them to do, and keep pushing them every day. This is the most important thing, and we're going to get to where we need to be.
I think if Rising can defend like they did against San Antonio, they can come away with the result.
I agree with that. I don't think Switchbacks has the defense or the attack really to kind of break down if Rising defend like that. My worry though is if it is a kind of rotating, revolving door of guys for Rising in the back line, it could get jumbled up. They could make mistakes. They could be forced into mistakes by Switchbacks. But again, what they showed against San Antonio is certainly a step in the right direction defensively. Not on the attack by any stretch, but defensively.
No,
good.
but is it far away in the attack? That's kind of the question. Because I don't think it's that far away.
I don't think so. I think it was kind of a personnel thing.
Yeah.
I think if you're not playing Marga, I know he wasn't fully fit, but I think
that doesn't play into the shots on target lack of, does it entirely? I mean, yes, it plays into maybe them not having as much in terms of, the opportunities that they'd create, but the shots on target thing was. Yeah.
I mean, I do think the shots on target was kind of a fluke. I sure hope that doesn't happen again. But I don't know. It's interesting. Surely it's not that one dimensional again, where 50% of the attacks coming down the right hand side. If Rising can play through all three parts of the pitch, I think they could do something. But I need to see that.
We do need to see that. That's going to be the challenge here, isn't it? Shout out the chat, by the way. I see you guys are having fun. Keep having fun in there. We love to see it. Trust the process. Not good when you sound like Arteta.
Trust the process.
But hey, I mean, it is a long season. We will see where things end up, won't we?
Shorter than last season, so
it is shorter than last season. 30 games instead of 34. Right, we've been speaking about this one. You know what? One more thing. Give me one player that you think needs to step up for this game.
I don't know. I don't know what direction I want to go in this, because I think there's a lot of different ways I could go. I think since we were talking about Rémi Cabral earlier and talking about how his movement hasn't been the best compared to Ihsan Sacko at that 9 spot, I'd like to see him, have a good game in this one. Show what he has shown at times in a Rising shirt, but never really been able to put together over, continued stretch. I'd like to see him have a good one on Saturday.
I'm gonna say Noble Akello.
No, that was my second pick.
I do think this team needs that little bit more in the midfield still at this point. Just in terms of throwing the body around a little bit more. Obviously, he's a big body guy.
Yeah.
I'd also say that you're at a point where by those set pieces, you probably want to make sure that he's getting on the end of them and that he's able to put them away. Now, that's the thing, even when they have found him. Outside of that El Paso game, we haven't seen him really turn into this really imposing character, I think, in the opposition box. It happened once off a set piece in El Paso. And when you've got someone who is that tall, I mean, it's going to be an interesting one to really work out. If you can get him to to provide you that little bit more in the midfield, that little bit more of a physical presence. If you can find a way to make him definitely have more of a presence in the opposition box when you're having set pieces, when you're whipping those balls in, I think that's going to ultimately really benefit Rising. I know everyone's going to say Rémi is often the thing you say when maybe you're not scoring enough goals. You turn around and say you need the centre forward to score more, but there are other things I think this team can put together other than just that. Harvey Neville, an interesting shout there in the chat. Wow, yeah.
I don't think he was that bad on these last couple, or not the last game. I thought it was one of his better performances. Now, do I think it was great? No, but I think it was better. It's a step up.
True. It's true. It's true. Do you think Goodall Pat's point there is interesting as well? With if Rising loses on Saturday, can they afford to put out a strong lineup for Wednesday with NMU a couple of days later? League points need to start coming in. Well, that's of course a bit of a hypothetical. If we're in that position come next week, I'm sure it's something that will be discussed. But for now, obviously, we're not at that point. They may still get something out of this weekend. And on that note, I'm going to ask for a score prediction, please, Rees.
I can see a lot of goals in this game. I'm gonna go a 2-2 draw.
2-2 draw.
Yeah.
Oof. Yeah, I can see that happening. You know what I'm gonna go for? I'm gonna go for a 2-1 loss. Maybe we're gonna jinx this. Who have you got scoring, by the way? For Rising now.
We'll go Cabral. And we'll go Damian Rivera.
Okay, I'm gonna go with a little bit of Marga himself.
Okay.
Jearl Margaritha. Continuing his dominance in here. You know what? We're gonna throw it over. We haven't heard from our producer yet. Producer Noah.
On his birthday too.
On his birthday as well. Yeah, Rees. I was gonna chuck that in later. But okay.
I'm gonna go Rising 1-0. Goal scored by Colin Smith.
Ooh.
He scored already?
That's my prediction.
Interesting. Chat, let us know what you're thinking there. James Wilson, 3-1 to Colorado Springs. Yep, that's a miserable sounding one, but I can see it. I like how we've all predicted that Rising are going to score their first goal at this particular stadium, though.
Yeah, and then it's going to end up being boring, isn't it?
Boring. Well, it's not boring Briggs. Boring
Birmingham
Briggs has
now.
gone 2-0 to Colorado, 2-0 to Colorado. Goodall Pat in the chat. Oh my God, guys, get some positivity in here, says the person who predicted a loss. Anyone else?
I was fairly positive predicting a draw.
Is that positive? They're second to last in the league. Remember, if Rising wins this game, they will not be on the bottom of the table. We know that. Because they're on the same points here. As Devin did say, Rising win. But give me a score. We asked for a score prediction, Devin. Come on. He's just going to leave it at Rising win, isn't he? That's disappointing. Disappointing to me. Poor form. Maybe we'll come back to that one after the break. We're producing. Wow.
The elite level of disrespect.
That is disrespect. Where is Kev? He's got to be around here somewhere.
He's probably doing Diamondbacks or something weird like that.
Yikes. Yeah. The levels of disrespect to our producer here. Oh, wow. When we come back, we'll be talking a little bit more about stuff going on around the rest of the league. I will take the score predictions there quickly before we do. Just the reminder here. Mike with 3-2 Rising, brace from Rémi. There we go. 5-0 Rising, all ping, says Fat Kid. I like the way you think, but Jameson Ping scoring 5 goals would be perhaps the least expected thing. Every other score I can see being realistic. That one,
hey,
no.
he might put his scoring boots on that.
One all like at San Antonio, they'll step up when least expected. So Kevin, okay. All right. Well, when we come back, we will be looking around the league at other things that are going on in USL Championship. But first, we need to talk about our friends at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Remember, Gila River Resorts and Casinos, no one does it better. You can visit any of the 4 locations they have. It includes Wild Horse Pass. It's a pretty familiar one for Rising fans. Lone Butte, Vicuiva, Santan Mountain, and experience the best that the Valley has to offer. You can lounge at either of their AAA 4 Diamond resorts and let relaxation take charge with unbeatable desert and mountain views. And of course, go all in with over 4,500 slots on live table games, or catch all the action at any of the sports books. Remember, you're not Max Simpson, so you might actually win if you go gambling. But Max would definitely come home a loser. Unlike Max, you're going to go to Gila River. You're going to go big and go home a winner. From upscale to approachable, casual to classy, from bar to bar none, a selection of dining options are always also in good taste, and you can elevate your experience with unbeatable views from their rooftop restaurant as well at Prime Sheila Steakhouse. So we're going to be having events there. We had events there very recently as well, so make sure to go check those out and stay tuned in for more info on how you can come and hang out with us. You do you at Gila Resorts and Casinos. Visit play@gila.com for more details. And we're also going to give a shout out to our friends at All Pro Shades Concepts. It is getting hot.
It is.
It's getting very hot right now. And did you know that if you have roll down patio shades, they can block the sun and keep the patio up to 20 degrees cooler? Now, All Pro Shade Concepts, they have hundreds of colors and durable fabric to withstand the Arizona sun. You can choose from manual or motorized, seal track or cable shades, and in the winter, drop down shades. They can create an outdoor living area that keeps cold wind out and warm air in. But of course, right now, it's the summer. You want to keep it as cold as you possibly can, because out there it is pretty oppressive. They are the most trusted local shade company, voted #1 by Ranking Arizona for patio shades in 2024, and the Better Business Bureau gives them A+ ratings with over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google. They've been in business for 20 years in the Valley, and make sure that they are licensed, bonded, and insured. You can call 623-204-1476 or visit allproshadeconcepts.com now to schedule your free estimate. Right, Rees, we'll talk about, there was a new managerial hiring today.
Boring Briggs.
Boring Briggs. It's what some people call him. Mark Briggs appointed the head coach at Birmingham Legion, obviously a long-term manager at Sacramento Republic, previously with Real Monarchs. Had a lot of success with Sac Republic, but didn't really get as far as they'd have liked last season. So Sacramento chose to make the change there. What do you make of this one?
It's interesting. I mean, having two guys, or really three, that are three of the better attacking players in this league, with Danny Trejo, Ronaldo Damas, and Tyler Pasher is a good piece there too. It's not unsimilar to what he had in Sacramento. I mean, Sacramento's always kind of had good attacking players, but this is another level for him. So I'm intrigued to see what he can do there. I'm just glad he's not in the West, so we don't have to see him twice a year.
What do we think about his style of play? And how it'll translate there. That's the thing.
It is very interesting. I would have thought they would have gone a much more attacking manager, but I don't know. It's interesting. I mean, he's one of the better managers this league's seen. I know it was diminishing returns for Sacramento the last couple of years, but I don't think it fits. I don't think it's compatible.
I'm going to be intrigued. This could go in a lot of different ways, and I mean, is it a case of, and I mean, I see Gulliman Pat's their thing about the squad doesn't fit his normal style of play. Is it a question of they just went out and got the name from this league that was on the market?
I mean, if you kind of look at Birmingham's roster and Birmingham's transfers this year,
it's kind of in the entire theme.
Yeah.
Go out and get the name. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I don't know if he's entirely the most obvious fit there, but it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Birmingham Legion currently below the playoff line. 1 win, 2 draws so far this season, so 5 points from their 6 games over in the Eastern Conference. They did pick up a win reasonably recently against El Paso Locomotive about halfway through April. It's going to be interesting to see, I think, how that one quite shapes up over there. But then, you look at how Sacramento have been doing since his departure, and it's not really coming together under Neil Collins.
No, it hasn't. Yeah, I mean, listen, at the end of the last year, they really did fall off a cliff, and then heading into the playoffs, I mean, they were fighting with Sacramento, or not, they were Sacramento. They were fighting with New Mexico for that top spot. And then, correct me if I'm wrong, they finished 5th in the West, right?
Yeah.
Last season.
They traveled away to
Vegas, and then got bounced. Yeah, so, I mean, it really, really, the wheels came off the bus completely last season. So we'll see how he can do in Birmingham.
We will. Meanwhile, I'll tell you what, we'll take it outside since people are talking about this right now. Into Miami, Shout out the retirement squad. Shout out the retirement home.
Ooh, they're getting
in South
battered.
Beach. They are getting absolutely battered right now. They're losing 3-1 at home to the Vancouver Whitecaps in the second leg of the CONCACAF Champions Cup semi-final. That is the international competition that actually matters. We don't care about the other fake one. This is the real one. This is the real one.
Leagues Cup.
Yeah, who cares about Leagues Cup? This is the real one.
but-
And Messi can't get it done by the looks. Now I've said that,
He
they're going
can't
to
hack
score
it.
like 4 goals.
Yeah, they probably will.
They've only got about 5
3
minutes
of them
to do
will be
so.
penalties.
Hey, come on. This isn't MLS now. As you look around the rest of USL, right? This is a good time to kind of take that look at it. How are we feeling about who these early teams that have been really stepping up? Loudon. Is Loudon legit?
I think so. I think this
Loudon's
is the
legit.
year-
Loudon is legit, says Rees.
Well, they've really prolonged it. I mean, 7 games.
They've only lost once, and that was to
Yeah.
Louisville. And, I mean, losing to Louisville, that can happen to anyone.
And then, I think Abdallah Latif Abubakara, I think he's really, really legit there. He's been there for a few years now, but I really think he's put it all together. He's got 6 goals already and an assist. If he can keep firing on that level, they really, really will stay at the top, near the top at least.
Rising do have to play Loudon. It's not one of the teams that Rising will miss out on this season. Obviously, a slightly unbalanced schedule compared to usual. Rising will play them here at 38 in Washington in September. Looking around at the rest of the league here, we want to talk about teams that are struggling. Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
Tampa Bay, are they genuine flops this year?
They're another interesting team because they fired their they fired Nielsen, right, a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I think they do have like good pieces. I think Ollie Bassett, I think Ruben Spasius are good players. Artiaga's in there, hasn't clicked at the same level for him as in the past. But they're just missing something at the moment. I know they've had a difficult schedule. They've had to play Louisville. They've had to play Charleston. They've had to play Loudon, Tulsa in there as well. It's
It
not
just
easy
feels
at
so
all.
weird to
but
say, oh man, they had to play Loudon and
Yeah.
Tulsa. Like that's such a weird
Yeah.
statement to come out with, but it's where we are right now.
It
with
is
this
where
team,
we are.
with this league.
Tulsa, they're looking good, and they just spent
4 wins, 2 losses,
a ton
from
of
their 6
money
games.
on the guy from South Africa. I can't remember his name. Jamie Weber. They spent a ton of money on him. So we'll see where they are at come then this season, because they're 4th now right now. I wouldn't be surprised they kind of stay in that 3 through 5, 6 range, but
We'll see,
this
won't
is
we?
the USL, so
We'll
anything
see,
can
won't we?
happen.
And then New Mexico United, obviously, the only team in the West that have only lost 1 game still. At this point, they're on a bit of a winning streak right now in that they've won their last 5 games in the league. How concerned should we be about seeing them in just about a week and a half's time?
I think very. I think losing Eric Quill, I think a lot of people thought, oh, maybe they could drop off. And then they go out and hire Dennis Sanchez from Las Vegas, who was phenomenal with Vegas last year. And it's already seeming to be that same way in New Mexico. Every time I watch them, it's very entertaining. And I hate saying that. It's a lot of good movements with them. And they're going to run the West, I'm afraid.
Any other comments on USL right now?
The Eastern Conference isn't real.
The Eastern Conference is never real.
No, I'm just
The
making
Eastern
sure
Conference
people
is
are
always
still
a
aware.
simulation.
Absolutely.
It's not real. It's never been real. When was it ever real?
I was gonna say only the USL final, but even then, they just
Even then, it's questionable.
auto-generate players and teams for that.
Indeed, they do. Right, I think we're about running out of things to talk about in terms of, the USL at the moment. So, we will talk a little bit about a new partnership that we have here at PHNX and indeed across ALLCITY network as a whole. We are teaming up with Big Brothers, Big Sisters of America for an exciting 3-year partnership. Look, this isn't just about sports, it's about community. And we're working with Big Brothers, Big Sisters, incredible youth mentoring programs, the passion and power of ALLCITY's local sports coverage to create something truly meaningful. Now, this kicked off very recently with our NFL draft coverage. It's not going to stop there. We will still be working year-round to support Big Brothers, Big Sisters through fundraising, content, events, opportunity for the team, all kinds of things going on here, all kinds of ways to get involved. We're so excited to support youth mentorship that's really going to make a difference. You can also learn more if you are interested and see how possibly to get involved. bbbs.org/ALLCITY. Yeah, fun times.
Yep.
There we are. All right. You know what? One more thing before we sign off and get out of here. You know, it was kind of dropped earlier by Rees, but we give a shout out, by the way, to our producer for the day, Noah. And it's your birthday, isn't it, Noah?
It is. It is.
It is. You doing anything fun?
Yeah, I'm actually
Beyond producing our pod, of course, which is the highlight of any Wednesday.
So after the show, a heli's gonna pick me up on the roof here, and then I'm taking the heli over to a PJ, and then I'm taking the PJ to Vegas for the night.
Why would you want to go to Vegas, though?
Just to spend all of my millions of dollars that I have that I can just kind of use as
You
free
could do that at
coupons.
Gila River Resorts and Casinos.
That's true. That's true. Maybe I'll take the PJ to Gila. Might be a little bit shorter of a ride, but maybe I can just fly around the state, do some loops and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it should be a good time.
Good time. There we go. See, someone knows how to live it up here.
Oh, I try.
Oh, he tries. He tries.
should've-
Any message for the birthday boy, Rees?
Blow out your candles. I couldn't
Thank
think
you.
of anything.
Thank you. I will do that. I will do
Well.
that. When you first said blow out, I wasn't sure where it was going.
This is where we're missing Max right now, isn't it? To fill the
Yeah,
awkward
yeah.
silences. Right. Any last thoughts now, Rees, as we move on? We've got a couple of minutes here. Did you like the Cardinals draft, says Kevin? It's not the right football, but we'll allow it this once.
I'll say yes, but I'd also say this isn't the PHNX Cardinals show. So.
It's not, but do you have any insight here, Rees?
No. Listen to PHNX Cardinals show for that.
There we go. See, he's telling you.
Bing
He's telling you
bong.
where to go. He knows exactly who you need to be paying attention to. Who's on the PHNX Cardinals pod there?
Bo.
Yeah.
Johnny.
Yeah, there we go.
Damon.
Damon, there we go. And if you're going to trust anyone to give you news, it would be
Damon.
Damon. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
There we go. Absolutely. And speaking of news, how are you feeling about the Champions League right now?
It's only halftime, but I wish it was full time after seeing that performance yesterday. Arsenal losing 1-0 to PSG. That was
After game of this and then game of the season today.
Yeah, I know.
3-3 draw.
Yeah. Lamine Yamal is probably the best player in the world right now, and he's 17 years old. Just nuts what he's doing. But Arsenal just ripping out my heart and cutting it into pieces yet again right in front of me. So that's just why this sport's so beautiful, you know? Why
You take joy in the misery.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe you like the misery. Welcome to misery. Welcome to Phoenix Rising.
Yeah.
Welcome to football.
It's all the same, isn't
It's
it?
all just one long miserable stretch of watching people kick a ball around until one day you die.
You know, that's not wrong,
And
unfortunately.
that is football. And with that, maybe we'll start to draw towards a close here, right? This has been the PHNX Rising podcast, a really cheery podcast.
Oh,
here. But you know, it's fine. We'll move on from that. Make sure to join us next week. We'll be on Tuesday next week, by the way, ahead of Rising's Open Cup fixture on Wednesday against Houston Dynamo. We may have some more news on that later to come. We'll see. But you can also keep an eye out for content over on our website at gophnx.com. You can follow me on Twitter at OJEvans18. You can follow Rees on Twitter at Rees11_. You can follow us on Twitter as a whole at PHNX__rising. Double the underscores.
Double the misery.
Double the misery. You're really selling this right now, Rees. You really are selling this one. Birthday boy, Noah, you wanna tell us where can the people follow you?
They can follow me on OnlyFans.
No, I don't think we're promoting that on this one. I think Max would draw the line at that point, but I think Max would really draw the line at that point. Free advertising for that?
Shameful.
No. And we'll be back next week. Yeah, we'll be back on Tuesday for another hopefully more upbeat.
Oh, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. Don't we just love football? I like how we haven't
Love it.
mentioned a sit in relegation for a while, so that's fine. We're going to leave
Or
it like
Wrexham
that.
getting promoted.
Yeah, we
Get
really
in.
don't need to talk about that one. Again, football is misery. Football is many things. Remember, it is a beautiful game, but it's way more beautiful when
The match ends.
there we go. Thank you for that one, Rees. We'll see you on Tuesday. Goodbye.
We all silly like the mayor.